You're listening to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast, episode 70.
Welcome to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast, where positivity and spirituality create an enhanced life's journey with the wisdom of Ifa and Orisha. I am your host, Omileti Olubunmi.
Welcome to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast. I am Omileti Olubunmi. Thank you for spending some of your time with me to talk about all things Orisha, spirituality, and growth. So turn up the volume in your car, put on your earbuds. You know, the weather is still sort of semi-nice. Why don't we take a walk together? Grab a cup of water on your, well, not a cup, but a bottle of water. Let's go and let's chat. This episode is being brought to you by something brand new. We let it out last week. I am so excited, and the deets will be again at the end of this episode. But if you're a person who does not have a spiritual home in the Yoruba traditions, this is for you, and it's called your virtual ile. If you're really interested in our traditions and don't have an egbe and you want to be part of a community, then today is the day. We are looking for the founding members of this new space. It's going to start up and running, I'm hoping around mid November or so to really kick it off. But in the meantime, we are looking for the founding members. And it was one of you who brought this idea in, who's brought it up to me. And I am so super grateful. And we are getting ready to get it all up and going. But we are looking for those founding members. To find out more, go to orishawisdom.com/Iya Omileti and click on that image that says your virtual ile and then go for it. This is an Ask a Priest episode. For those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. This is a series that we have where you, the community, gets to ask a question that you've always wanted to ask an Orisha or an Orisha priest. And now you have the chance. I'll put on the show notes how you can ask your burning question for a chance to get that question answered on the podcast. But if you want the link right this second, here you go. You go to orishawisdom.com/ask a priest. And with that, let's get this episode going. Josie asks, I guess I should put her name. Josie Green asks, how can I find my Orisha? Because someone claimed that they picked one for me. I don't fully understand. Please help. Thank you so much for this question, Josie, and thank you for taking the time to write it. It is a great question to ask because if you know how things are done, then you can make informed decisions. In our traditions, whether you're crowned or not, we believe that an Orisha governs your head. And depending what you do or are meant to do, you will walk hand in hand with this Orisha in your life's path as a priest or priestess or as a regular person who is not initiated, and that's totally fine. Note, and I put this like in big letters in my notes, all of the Orishas are around us at one point or another, but only one rules your head, and others will assist and be around as well. First things first, what piqued my interest in responding to your question, Josie, was the question itself. You say that someone says that they chose the Orisha for you, and I don't have any more context to your question. I would welcome you to respond back when you hear this episode to know how they did this. I'm really, really interested to know. In our traditions, whether in Lukumi, Isheshe, Candomblé, even Budun, no one chooses the Orisha for you. This is found out in a special reading. In Lukumi, let's talk about Lukumi. It is known as the Bajada. Bajada is a Spanish word for, like to bring down. In English, there's the spiritual way of saying it. Honestly, I don't even know it offhand because I never use it. But in English, we know it as, bringing your guardian angel down. Or literally just finding the reading to find out who your head Orisha is. Like, who rules my head? Yeah, there's a special reading for that. I'm going to give you this, and I wish you could see my notes, but no one can pick somebody is Orisha. Only the oracle can confirm this. Also, I'm going to put as a side note, you don't pick your own Orisha here. And I'm going to go a little bit further into this episode as to the yes and no to that. You'll see what I mean. But let me tell you a few things about this. You can find out with a reading made by an Olorisha, which is an Orisha priest, if they know how to do that reading. So you can find that out. You also can go straight to Ifa, to a Babalao or an Iyanifa or an Awo to find out who your head Orisha. Here are other side notes to that. If you go to Ifa, it is known as the final answer. Once you ask Ifa, that's it. It's the final answer. You never ask Ifa again. So here's an example. Let's say, oh, I love Oshun. And you go to, Ifa and they say, you are Chango. You're like, oh, well, I don't like that. I'm going to go to another, Babalao. That's an No, we don't do that. Once it is done by Ifa, it's done. Now, I'm going to give you some things that happen so that you are aware. Some people or houses go to an Olorisha, to an Orisha priest for the answer. They get that reading. And then they go to Ifa to confirm said answer. That's okay. Some houses work that way. Some people, some spiritual houses only go to an Olorisha, and that's okay too. Let me put this here again. No one chooses the Orisha that you will have for you. They can guess. Oh, by the way, that's going to be probably the most fun anybody will ever have in this tradition. I think he's an Oshun because da-da-da-da-da. Oh, no, that's definitely a Chango because da-da-da-da-da. So it's a lot of fun to try to guess, but that is just a guess. They cannot choose it for you. Now, since we are talking about choosing, some houses believe that the Orishas can fight for your head and others don't. If you believe in this, that is okay. If your house believes in this, that's okay. And if you don't, it's okay too. Another little something about choosing. Many folks say that you don't choose your Orisha, and I'm okay with that, and they're okay with that. If you believe that, that's great too. I'm going to share with you where I stand in the topic. I believe that we do choose our Orisha. However, we choose it in heaven. And I think I've said this before. Maybe I've said this before in the podcast, but I'll share it again. Let's say that you're in heaven. Your Ori is in heaven. Your highest self is in heaven. Your essence is in heaven. So not the, can you hear that? Not the physical body, not just your essence, your spirit, your highest self is in heaven. And you're like, I've been here having fun and doing heavenly things. And, well, I think it's time that I go back. Last time I really struggled, being a mother, and, I just had an issue with robbery a lot, and I would steal things, and I need to get better at that. I think it's time for me to go back to earth. We call that the market. So I think it's time to go back to the market. Okay, let me set up a meeting with Orumila, and see what I can see. And I don't know what coins or what, I have no idea what happened. And they're like, well, we need to set up a reading, and a reading is set. And, Ifa's like, well, why are you here, my child? I'm like, well, I think I need to go back to Earth. I think I would like to go back as a woman, and I would like to work on, being a better mother. And, last time I had a problem, robbing things, and I think I need to be a little more not doing that. It's just an example. I don't know. It's just stuff that comes to my head. So you're like, okay, Orumila, I need some advice before I go down to Earth and reincarnate. What say you? And Ifa does this thing, okay, it's time to throw. And they're like, well, you're going to have to do this, and that. But this Orisha, I think, could help you. And let's say that it's Yemaya, right? So Yemaya can help me. Okay, so I'm like, okay. So Orumila then calls on to Yemaya. Yemaya, would you be willing to help this child to, go back and try to be a better mother? And she'll be like, yes, of course, Baba Orumila, I will do that. And then they're like, you, Essence child, would you like to do that? And, she's also good at making her own money, so that way you don't have to steal anymore. So you guys are going to be paired down on Earth. And in that reading, you will begin to start setting up your, let's say that it's me, my destiny. So me as an essence, I will be like, okay, I'm going to be working with Yemaya. And this is, they're like, well, I think this would be a good destiny for you. I think, you're destined to have 4 children. And, you are going to have some challenges with some of those, which are going to challenge you in your womanly skills. And you are going to be I don't know. Let me look around. Water bottle. You're going to be you're going to make, containers for water. And, I think business is good for you. And, Yemaya's really good at the market. She can be very ingenious. So she can help you with that. Are you okay with that? Yes. Yemaya, you're going to help her? Yes. Everybody's okay? Yes. Okay. You're good. You're going to do this abo. I don't know what abos they do in heaven. I'm just saying. And you're going to go down to Earth, and you're going to go back to your family, right? As a girl, obviously, yes, sure. We're going to do that. And then it is all done where you come down to heaven to do that. So in essence, you with the oracle picked your destiny, and you basically made an agreement with the Orisha. It is also said that in heaven, it is chosen whether you're going to be a priest of that Orisha, or if you're just going to be an Aborisha for the rest of your life, which is great, that you will know who your Orisha is, and you'll be able to work with that Orisha in a way or another, but you don't have to be initiated, and that's great too. So when it comes to that topic, I believe that you do choose, but it's not like I choose you, or because you're like awesome. It doesn't quite work like that. So there are spiritual workings in between. And I really, once I found that out, it just resonated with my soul. And I said, this absolutely makes sense, because it's not like it's a roulette of, the Orisha chooses me only. It's more like an agreement that was made in heaven. So in a way, I believe that, people are the ones that choose, the Orisha, as well as the Orisha chooses you. But you choose, in the end, you're the one who chooses whether you're going to work with the Orisha and follow the instructions and all of that good stuff. All right. I would like to say that this topic, it stood out. And it stood out because for the brand new person, if you hear that, you're like, oh my God, this is so great. Somebody has already chosen my Orisha for me. And I really want to share within the Isheshe spectrum, as well as Candomblé, I'm sure Voodoo as well, and definitely Lukumi, that is not done. It is finalized by the oracle. There is no way around. There is no future godparent that says, I have chosen the Orisha that my child will have. No, it doesn't work like that. By the way, that was my Star Wars voice. I'm in geek mode today. I hope you laughed a little. I laughed a little. And I really want you to be prepared, because the more you know, then you know that if that person is saying, I've chosen this for you, that may not be the way for you to go in your spiritual path. You have reached the end of this episode. I would like to give a super thank you to Josie for taking the time to ask this question. And I hope that this answer has helped. If you want to know who your guardian Orisha is, I think that's awesome. Get that particular reading. And it's not a regular reading, but a reading just for that. I'm also going to give you a side note. If you're interested in the Lukumi traditions, understand that, let's say that you want to talk to ex-priest, and ex-priest, you're like, hi, I want to know who my Orisha is. They're going to be like, are you ready to make Ocha? Are you ready to commit to that Orisha? If the answer is no, then they will most likely decline you. And they will decline you because you have not made that commitment to be with Orisha. So only in Lukumi, they will tell you who your head Orisha is when you are committed to that Orisha. So there are two ways that you will get that, but it's the same reading, by the way. One is always called the Bahada, as I explained. And secondly, when you get your hand of Ifa, because by that time you're coming into a bigger commitment, so you can find out who your head Orisha is when you get your hand of Ifa. This also goes with Isheshe, and also understand that you could receive the hand of Ifa without knowing who your head Orisha is. So that also can happen. But I wanted to mention that so that you can make informed decisions going forward. Okay, so we're good. We're good. And we are absolutely finished with this topic. I was trying to remember anything else that could go with the notes in order to help you. So again, we've reached the end of this episode. Thank you, Josie, for taking the time to ask it. Because if you're asking, I'm sure many other people may be going through something similar. I would like to say that this has been quite a ride. I mean, the middle of a pandemic has not been great, and it's been an insane ride with all the craziness that has been going around, and it has been it's just been a crazy ride. However, I want to thank this community for your emails, for checking up on me, because there was a time that I was like, oh my God, I'm not sure I'm not going to be able to get an episode out anytime soon. For your patience, and just for being part of this community. I cannot thank you enough. Like, seriously. Definitely. And a couple of things. So I have a couple of announcements. And if you have found this helpful, if you like this content and you wish and can help us to support us, check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/Ida Omileti. You will have access to all of the Orisha Wisdom podcasts before they are published, and other perks. We, of course, will give you kudos on here on the podcast for the world to hear. We also have had giveaways where some merch, Orisha Wisdom merch, has wound up in your mailbox. We have also had calls that are exclusive just for the patrons of Patreon, and more things are coming. There will be also exclusive content just for Patreon folks. So if you can and you would like to, I would like to thank you in advance for your support, as it will truly help this podcast with the costs, and I can create more content. And of course, if you become a Patreon, I will always give you kudos up here on the podcast in case I didn't mention it before. If you liked this episode and you found it helpful in your spiritual growth, one thing that you could do is to share this podcast episode so that someone else can also get something out of it, especially with this one, when they are brand new people and you're like, yeah, they can choose an Orisha for you too. And it's like, that's not exactly how it works. And you can save them the trouble later on. What is also helpful for us is to give us a review either on any of the social channels, especially on iTunes and the platform that you have. I do get to them. I read them. Thank you so much for your comments and your feedback. It means a lot to me. If you're on YouTube, of course, like the episode, subscribe, and click on the little bell icon so that you will be the first to know when there is a new video upload. And it's usually another episode of the Orisha Wisdom Podcast or something related. Remember, this is an Ask a Priest episode. If you would like to send in your burning questions, something that you really wanted to know about, go to orishawisdom.com/Iya Omileti. And over there, you can ask a priest, or you can literally go to orishawisdom.com/ask a priest. For show notes to talk about all of these things, go to orishawisdom.com/70. Stay tuned for the next episode where we're going to talk about, this is going to be so good. We're going to talk about money. And we're going to talk about money. And it's not going to be like a really full on money, but we're going to start shedding light on how much it costs to make ocha. Yeah, it was like, this is going to be so good. I can't wait. Until next time, may the elevated ancestors and all Orisha bless you immensely. Odabo!
Thank you for listening to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes at orishawisdom.com/podcast. Can't get enough of Orisha Wisdom? Check us out at orishawisdom.com and subscribe to our community. Remember, the wisdom of Ifa and Orisha is all around us. Be blessed, and until next time.